I'm Mike Lowe, and we are going to be continuing to look at my NBA eras. I've already created a video kind of just going over the crux of this new mode where we featured just the Magic versus Bird era. And we just kind of went in 1 year in just to kind of look at just generally how this mode is playing out and what it looks like. It wasn't a terribly deep dive. I do want to do a deeper dive and maybe go like 5-10 years into the future in one of these eras and potentially even the modern era as well. But for this video, we're just going to be looking at the Jordan era and the Kobe era and how it plays out. So let's jump in and start with the Jordan era here. So again, it's going to be a very, very similar setup, of course, just in a different era. And so I don't expect it to behave any differently or anything like that. And we're just going to use the standard setup here, but you can, of course, go in and edit all of these. But for this tutorial, we're just going to jump right in and just set up just a few quick things. And I think that's fine. We'll just go with that. We'll grab all the teams again. And just so we can quick sim, I'll do this again and just, turn all these on. And we'll get moving right after that here. So all the user teams will just handle everything on their own here. And that will allow us to get through. And I'll try to answer some of the questions that came up in the previous video too, because you all had some really good questions and suggestions for kind of like looking at some of this a little bit closer. So again, the very first thing we're going to see here is the kind of the breakdown of this mode. So eventually it's going to start having us add the Raptors and Grizzlies, which is really cool. I remember that happening when I was a kid. Back to the basket is illegal in 1999, hand checking and so on, zone defense being allowed. And so these are things I didn't even know were ever not in the game of the actual NBA. So pretty cool that this is a part of the mode here. And just really cool in general. And again, I know this is not a perfect mode, right? I see people like, oh, this kind of ruins it for me. And if you're looking for perfection, I mean, there is no game that does anything perfectly. But overall, I mean, we see so much here that they offer in this mode. And to me, it's just light years ahead of a game like Madden or even MLB The Show and things like that. I mean, just the innovation that we're seeing from this team, just really, really cool. So you can see the different stuff here that you're going to see. The G League gets added in 2001, which, by the way, G League looking a lot better this year, a lot less crazy potentials and things like that. It looks very, very realistic. So we're going to use the 92 draft class. And you can see the older logos there. That's just super, super cool. If we go in and just real quickly look at some of the rosters here. Of course, you're going to have some more teams now in 1992. But we'll just kind of flip through. Moses Malone still in the league. Pretty cool there. And not every single player is going to be real. You're going to see, whether it's Charles Barkley or just some other players that just weren't put in, maybe just some bench fodder guys, things like that. But you can see even some of the models look different. Like if you remember from yesterday's video, Larry Bird had kind of just more of like poofier hair and he had a mustache and so on. And here he just looks a little more filled out. He's probably gained some weight in his age. Just looks like a different player model. And that's not for every model. Not every single player is redone as far as I know for each of the different eras. But pretty cool. This is just, oh gosh, like I remember, Larry Johnson. I remember these commercials with Alonzo Mourning and just super, super cool. The grandma commercials, super cool. The Jazz would be such a fun team to use with Malone and Stockton. Yeah, so again, just flipping through to show you some of the rosters here. Of course, you got Magic. Now, see, that's the same player model that was in the previous one from 1983, right? So 9 years later, as far as I can tell, that looks to be the exact same player model. So, again, not perfect. If you're looking for perfection, this is not going to be the mode for you. But still just so cool. And again, this is not even using a custom roster, right? So that was one of the questions that came up. It's like, well, what if I, can I use a custom roster? Yeah, you can. I just haven't loaded it here because there are none. This is still a day before the game's released. And so we just don't have any there for us to load in, but you can certainly do that. And you rest assured the community will be making those rosters, right? So again, Dennis Rodman obviously looking different than he did with the Bulls and even the Spurs later on. But again, not every single player is going to be real. I don't even recognize any of these players. So as you get down lower in the roster, you're going to see that. Like that Bill Lambier's got the face guard. That's amazing. Super, super cool. So anyway, rosters look good. As we go and look at the draft class again this time, we can, where am I going? Let's go to the big board here. Shaquille O'Neal, of course, being the top prospect that year, 7'1", out of LSU, of course, just 19 years old here. So the consensus number one pick, no question. There's Alonzo Mourning, we talked about. Just really cool. Christian Laettner, again, huge player coming out of college. Maybe didn't have quite the NBA career that everyone expected, but maybe that's going to be different for you. But again, not every single player in these draft classes is going to be real, and that's just the reality of it. But again, editable, right? Someone can access this, and again, the community will do this. Someone is going to be able to go in and clean these draft classes up a little bit to replace some of these fake players. And then you really could probably get the full experience here, even probably a month into the game's release. So it should be really, really neat. What else is there to look at? Someone was asking about just some of the league leaders and things like this. And I'm just trying to see where that even is now. I forget. Where you can actually leak history. So if we go to NBA records, these are what they're looking like in this particular mode. And I think what the concern that I saw people asking about was well, are we going to have records that were set, say, in the future show up in 1992? Like if there was a record that was set in the year 2000 or whatever, is that going to show up here? And so as we just kind of flip through, I'm just looking at the years to see if anything goes beyond 1992. And I don't see anything yet. Because, that would be a little weird. But again, something that they could probably just adjust pretty easily. I mean, these are just, I would assume, just kind of information that's in a database somewhere that just needs tweaking. So I don't see anything. So that's cool. Let's see if there's anything else here in NBA history. So like season awards, right? You're not seeing anything beyond 91. So that's good. It looks to me like it's working. Coach of the year. And not all the coaches are real. Most of these guys are, though, it looks like. Past champions, league leaders. It actually looks pretty accurate. So that was one of the questions there. So we're able to do that. And, I had some people saying, I thought that it was just going to redraft everybody. And I thought that it was going to be 100%. The Bulls will always take Jordan in 84. But you can do that. That's not what the mode is, though. And that's not what they were ever saying the mode is. If you want to control all teams, you can have it replicate. But I've never understood that because you can't really control the sim engine, right? And so what if the Bulls go to the finals that year? They're not going to have a chance to draft Michael Jordan. So are you going to have Michael Jordan get drafted 27th overall or whatever it would be? That's not really realistic, right? So to me, when you start a new MyNBA or an era, it becomes your own story. Now, if you want to control it and maybe, I saw some people there's too many trades and this sort of thing. Well, there's trade sliders for that. Or you can just completely turn it off if you want, or you can do all the trades manually. And so... it's kind of whatever you make of it. And I think that's kind of the beauty of it. Again, if you're looking for perfection, there's no game that's going to offer perfection, guys. Right. So, you have to kind of decide what you're willing to live with. And if you love modes like this, doing something like this isn't necessarily new. You could kind of do this manually, but the way that the team has put this in, where you have kind of the throwback graphics when you're playing a game and even the camera angles. It's awesome. It's just super, super cool. So there we see Patrick Ewing, I should say. And we're getting all these staff quit notifications, which I talked about yesterday, just kind of populate this screen for a minute or so. But again, here you're seeing the all NBA teams and so on. Nothing too shocking here. Again, the simulator does a pretty darn good job. just flipping through these really quick. You can pause the video if you want to look at these in kind of more detail here. So again, pretty straightforward. Again, it goes back to kind of the traditional playoff format. Of course, when you start a new MyNBA in the year 2022, it's got the play-in tournament, so it'll look completely different than this. But this is kind of what most of us are probably used to seeing, kind of that traditional tournament. Of course, back here is when the first round was just 5 games. But we can just simulate through this, and it's going to give us all the notifications because we're controlling all teams, even though they're all kind of being controlled by the AI. But let's just see what we got here. Boy, the Bulls got eliminated kind of early, huh? So the Cleveland Cavaliers, that logo's sweet. They win it. Brad Daugherty gets the MVP. I remember the first NBA live game I played. That was the team I had, was the Cavs. I always used the Cavs with Brad Daugherty and like Mark Price. So that kind of dates how long I've been playing some of these games here. But yeah, another 7-game series. Yesterday, we actually had in the Magic versus Bird era, we actually had the exact finals, and it went to the exact game, right? We had the Celtics beat the Lakers in Game 7. So pretty amazing, again, when we talk about just the accuracy of a sim engine. But here the Cavs beat a really good Jazz team. The Bulls went out against Cleveland. 4-2 there in the second round. My Pistons got swept by Cleveland. So Cleveland just went on a roll, crushing the MVP and Patrick Ewing. They had quite a run. Very, very cool. Of course, the Seattle Supersonics. Yeah, pretty good. So here you can see, again, the updated images. And it looks like they have fixed. Yesterday I was showing they had an image here of Stan Van Gundy with the Pistons, and it just kind of looked goofy. But it does look like each era has their different images and stuff, which is just awesome. Again, just small, little subtle things, but this is cool. And again, this probably took 2 minutes to update, but just love it. Love seeing, just really, really cool to see there. Kemp and Gary Payton. So very, very small stuff. Player retirements. There's our Jared Antetokounmpo again. He showed up in the other one. So this is obviously a fictional player that apparently is in both eras, probably all the eras at this point. So just a few retirements. Jersey retirements. Let's see what pops up this first year. Robert Parrish, no surprise there. And that was something. Let's see if I can take a look at that really quick. So someone asked about are you seeing numbers that are retired on a team? And I forget where to see this, but are you seeing retired numbers again, from the future? Are those sort of things showing up? And I can't even remember where that is. I know it's in here somewhere. It's just on the team screen or something, right? So let's see. I don't know if I can get to that at this time of the season, though. Oh, yeah, here we go. Retired jerseys. So, again, I mean, let's see if, so, I mean, obviously, you don't have, so they're working because, you'd obviously have, Michael Jordan and some other players here. I can look at my Pistons really quick, just as a quick reference. Yeah, I mean, certainly missing some players who've had their numbers retired since then. They retired the Microwaves jersey pretty quickly here. But yeah, you're not going to see anything from the future, so that's pretty cool. And guys, that's, not every game would have pulled this off, right? Something little like this. This is something, that we see in Madden all the time. It's oh, cool, new feature. Oh, and they totally forgot there's an immersion killing little thing like this. And it's debatable if a jersey retirement's immersion killing, but kind of, right? If you can't wear 23 as the Bulls, or maybe even Michael Jordan can't wear 23 for the Bulls because it's retired or something. I mean, it can create some goofy things, right? I love this historic changes part. I think this is freaking awesome. So if we jump into here again, rule change, and it kind of loads up the real life ones, right? So team branding for the Hornets, team branding to change the logo, just the logo here of the Knicks, changing the logo of the Suns, the uniforms of the Bulls. So again, really, really cool. I'm just so impressed with just the level of detail. And here, of course, you have kind of the rules, and they've kind of pre-approved the ones that really happened. which of course you can override or you can add in your own. Just the customization options here are just, they're endless. It's just awesome. Even the draft lottery kind of takes on like an older look. You got the maybe the 1990s version of David Stern there. I can't remember if that's the same one as the 80s. It might be. It looks pretty similar. But we can just skip to the end of the lottery here. And the Sixers win at this time. So Shaquille O'Neal most likely will be a 76er. Let's see where the Magic actually went. They went 7th. Oof, so big difference from real life. So of course, staff signings, as far as I could tell, staff signing looked exactly the same. There's probably some more positions and things like that. And it mentions a carousel, like a coaching carousel, but I don't quite understand. I didn't see it being any different. I could be completely wrong on that. So apologies if I'm getting that wrong. But let's just jump into, let's just jump into the NBA draft here. So again, I'm assuming this first pick will be the Sixers. I'm just curious if they like traded or anything like that. So of course they take Shaquille O'Neal. Look at that Sixers jersey. That's sweet. Oh, it's so ugly. The Bullets. LaFonso Ellis goes number 2. Timberwolves. Alonzo Mourning. But it shows the Bucks. Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. Yeah, the Bucks pick 3rd. 4th is the Timberwolves here. So Junior Cheeks. I don't know if that's a real player. Maybe. I honestly don't know. Robert Ory. So yeah, very, very cool. So there's your top 5 that went, and I'm assuming they're going to be pretty similar. Sim to the end here, and they're gonna, again, there's gonna be fictional players here at the end if you're using just kind of the default draft class. I mean, they don't have rights to every single player, right? So we all know about Charles Barkley and things like that. And again, like this Shaquille O'Neal, I don't quite know if this is the 20-year-old version of Shaquille O'Neal. He certainly doesn't look how he is in real life. He doesn't look like the whatever he is now, 50 or whatever. But certainly, yeah. I mean, like I said, some of these players you can definitely tell are changing throughout the eras, but not all. So, but yeah, pretty cool. Leitner goes, didn't he actually go to the Kings in real life? I'm trying to remember who picked him. But yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. And then, of course, it just kind of goes in. The contracts are like in line with that particular year. So, much, much less than they would be in 2022, which is pretty cool. So that's the first overall pick. All of this stuff's going to be the same. You can just kind of see who the top free agent is this year. So let's go into here. Okay. Larry Bird, a free agent. Dominique Wilkins, you got a big free agent class. Brad Daugherty coming off his MVP's final season in this particular sim, at least. Horace Grant, Jeff Malone, Ronnie Cycli. Yeah, wow, very cool. Kenny Smith. So yeah, it's just really, really cool. A lot of nostalgia. Kevin McHale. Yeah, just really neat. Bernard King, Scott Skiles, Cliff Robinson. Wow, very, very cool. The original Cliff Robinson, right? Just really, really cool to see. So, let's see. All this other stuff. So the Summer League is here. I don't recall that being, I don't think that was going to be in the first one. It shouldn't have been. I don't think it was. I'm trying to remember now. But yeah, and of course you just advance through and then it'll have you load in, I guess, the 1990, what it'll be, the 93 draft here. Or again, you can go in and load the custom ones, right? So you could load it could be a fictional one if you wanted that you've saved offline or something, or that someone else has made, or you could even update it with using a different 93 draft class. But for now, because it's all that's available here, we'll just use that one. And then, we'll go in and just take a quick look at that. And where am I going? Scouting. So we look at the big board here. Now it's Penny Hardaway's draft, Jamal Mashburn, Vin Baker, Rodney Rogers, Allen Houston, who the Pistons took that year, Nick Van Exel, Isaiah Ryder. Wow, just like some of these just names. Sean Bradley, wasn't he like 85 feet tall? Yeah, 7'6". Holy cow. Byron Russell is a really good player. Is Kevin Ewing a real player? I didn't know That sounds familiar. Lindsey Hunter was picked by the Pistons that year. So yeah, just it's just so cool. I just wish Madden had something like this. It'd just be so fun. Just an awesome, awesome setup. So yeah, I mean, again, there's tons of other stuff we can look through. But I think for this one, we're gonna just keep this one focused on the Jordan era. I will do another video here momentarily on the Kobe era, so be sure to check that one out. And if you did miss the previous video, which was the Magic versus Bird video, check that one out. And again, ask the questions, guys. I like answering those. I appreciate you checking this out, and I hope this is helpful.